According to all known laws of analytics, a movie about bees should not be able to garner any amount of views. The premise is too stupid to get any traction in an algorithm. The audience, of course, watches anyways, because the internet doesn't care what normies think.
Howdy friendos, my name is Stuart, and today we are looking at one of the most dunked on and frankly one of the oddest movies we've ever talked about. However, before we begin, I want to give a big thank you to our new patrons from last month. Thank you to Mike Lucha, I believe I'm saying that right, Thomas, Dylan Edwards, and a big thank you to Michael Merritt for upgrading to the Ace Trainer tier. As soon as I get the artwork done, we'll show off the character that we made. Anyway, the character we're going to focus on today is Barry the Bee from the DreamWorks film Bee Movie. To those that don't know, Bee Movie is a really odd movie. When it came out, it didn't really garner a lot of attention or make a bunch of waves, and it didn't go on to be a giant financial success. However, over the years, the internet has garnered a weird fascination over the film and just have a ton of weird YouTube uploads, and thus a meme is made. Barry the Bee starts the film at 9 days old, who had a fairly average childhood. 3 days of grade school, 3 days of high school, and then 3 days of college. After graduating, he was shown around the hive, where he was then left aghast at his fate, as it's meant to just serve the hive and he works until he dies. One day, he joins the pollen jockeys and leaves the hive for the first time. While on this trip, he learns of the outside world, and during a rainstorm, he gets caught up with a human florist, where he then begins a, let's call it a relationship. After the relationship begins, the movie changes 2 more times, and it just gets more weird from there, with a species-to-species lawsuit, and then a vague disaster movie in Act 3. Has anyone actually watched this movie? It's really bizarre.
So it's gonna be one of those videos, huh, Stuart? Okay, fine. But I'm keeping track, and for every bee pun you make, you owe me a cookie.
Anyway, starting off the film, I think we're going to label Barry as chaotic neutral, and that's mostly because Barry rejects pretty much all conventional wisdom from both mankind and bee-kind alike, especially at the beginning of the movie. It should be noted that his chaotic wandering tendencies even extended as far as the beginning, where he explains to his friend that he skipped a day of college to wander the hide, and came back to be a different person. Bee, I guess. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's go.
A bee! Hello, little friend. I shall name you Jasper, and together we shall take over the bee kingdom. Yay, hooray, bee friend, hooray! Smack attack! No, Jasper! Why? All he wanted to do was dance and love you.
Barry prepares for his graduation. He's excited, he then picks up his friend and cousin Adam, and is thrilled about the day as a whole. This happiness fades, however, when he realizes he'll be confined to one job, working essentially until he dies. Neutral.
You as a bee have worked your whole life to get to the point where you can work for your whole life.
Stung by the cold, hard truth of life, of labor ahead of him, Barry confides in Adam. He's inspired by the pollen jockeys buzzing by and uses some pollen to flirt with some of his cousins. Don't worry, they're distant cousins, I guess. Chaotic horny. Neutral.
I can autograph that if you want.
Little gusty out there today, wasn't it, comrades?
Approached by the pollen jocks, Barry is called on his bluff. Not trying to get bugged, Barry doesn't back down from the chance to go outside. Chaotic neutral.
What happened?
Well, whenever a bee dies, that's an opening. See that? He's dead, dead, another dead one, deady, deadified, 2 more dead, dead from the neck up, dead from the neck down. But that's life.
One night of trying to confess to his parents about his concerns and seeing the rapid cycle of life and death, Barry plays Buzzy on his first day at Honix and goes with the pollen jocks. Chaotic neutral.
Bee law number 1, absolutely no talking to humans. All right, launch position.
After getting the okay from the pollen jocks, Barry follows their lead. He behaves himself and stays out of their way. He only becomes pulled away when he's attracted to a series of tennis balls along with the other bees. But he got trapped on it. Lawful neutral. Escaping the tennis ball, several attempts of swatting, and incoming traffic, Barry tries to get back to his hive and is grounded by a rainstorm. He's not harming anyone and is avoiding confrontation since it's fatal to bees. He's nearly killed by Krunk, his name is Ken I guess, and his winter boots, lawful neutral.
Damn, this thing could kill me.
You like jazz?
After being saved from Krunk by Vanessa, Barry stays after the storm has passed and breaks bee law number 1, no talking to humans, by thanking Vanessa. It is motivated beyond just being a good little bee. He even has coffee and food with her in a totally not date. Chaotic neutral. Sorry, I shouldn't keep saying that.
This can't possibly work. Well, he's all set to go. We may as well try it. Okay, Dave, pull the chute.
Returning to the hive, Barry tells Adam about the human world, the food, and Vanessa. Despite several warnings to leave the human world alone and get a job, Barry continues avoiding Hunix and seeing his flower gal. Chaotic neutral.
Oh my goodness! Are you okay?
Yeah.
Well, he's not bothering anybody. Get out of here, you creep!
While out, Barry discovers the massive quantities of honey. Wanting to learn more, he begins asking Vanessa where all of it's coming from. Eventually, Barry opts to interrogate an employee in the back of a store and threatens to sting him to find the source. This is chaotic good since the motivation is for all of bee kind.
Our queen was moved here. We had no choice.
This is your queen? That's a man in woman's clothes. That's a drag queen.
Barry discovers about unhealthy conditions of big corporation bee farms. Taking photos of the evidence, he reveals the truth to his family and friends before deciding to sue the human race. He is motivated by recounting incidents of how his father was overworked himself growing up.
Thank you, Larry. You know they have a Larry King in the human world, too.
It's a common name.
Barry, Vanessa, and Adam work securing the suit in court. Barry and Vanessa bond before Barry confirms that he does want to go through with the suit. Awful good.
I'm kidding. Yes, Your Honor, we're ready to proceed.
Okay, but quick aside, how messed up would it have been if that was a twist that the movie was going to pull and Vanessa was like Dr. Dolittle and could understand animals?
How'd you like his big hairy head crashing through your living room, biting into your couch, spitting out your throw pillows? Rawr! Rawr!
Barry handles himself well in court. He does go beyond just suing the big honey corporations and is also going after Sting for the name, and he's also bringing live bears into a courtroom for a demonstration. He also calls in Ray Liotta, a truly vicious animal, and Vanessa is his human legal fact check as he is actively trying to obey the rules. Lawful good.
That's where I usually sit. Right there.
After a day in trial, Barry is confronted by Kronk. Jealous over how much time the two are spending together, Kronk attacks Barry. Barry is trying to be helpful despite Kronk's insistence that there are mind games. Eventually, Barry is able to defend himself long enough for Vanessa to throw Kronk out. Neutral.
From riding on this emotional roller coaster.
Barry is called to the stand by the defense, who tries to goad Barry into attacking him. Barry stands his ground and doesn't give in to its taunts. But Adam does, stinging the defense and endangering the case. Lawful neutral. Following a disastrous day in court, Barry visits Adam. He comforts his friend and even asks Adam what he was like to sting someone. Adam is saved due to surgery. Neutral good.
Hold it, Your Honor. You want a smoking gun? Here is your smoking gun.
Getting an idea from Adam, Barry gathers the smoking gun to help with the case. Barry wins and celebrates with the bees. Lawful good.
This is an unholy perversion of the balance of nature, Benson. You'll regret this.
Winning the case, Barry helps recall the world's honey. This causes a massive ripple effect with the bees no longer needing to produce it, become lazy, and eventually ruin the ecosystem. Barry comes to this realization in horror as it wasn't what he wanted, simply wanting to save the bees and not doom the planet. Neutral.
How about a suicide pact?
How would we do it?
I'll sting you, you step on me.
That just kills you twice.
Right.
Coming up with a plan to gather the last flowers and help pollinate, Barry and Vanessa fake their way into stealing a flower float while only causing minor injuries. Chaotic good.
I'm an attorney!
Who's an attorney? Don't move.
When the plane taking them back is delayed by a storm, Barry tries to talk to the other pilots who attacked him. After they knock each other out, Barry calls Vanessa back to help him land the plane and convince ground control and the Lazy Bees to help out. Also Major Tom.
I don't think I can do this!
Vanessa, pull yourself together. Listen to me. You have got to snap out of it.
You snap out of it!
You snap out of it.
You snap out of it!
You snap out of it.
Barry feels his natural bee instincts kick in where he and the other help to land the plane. Barry then convinces all the bees to help pollinate, become a pollen jock, and save the day. Chaotic good.
Oh yeah.
Saving the world, Barry serves as an attorney at large, fighting for animal rights, a pollen jock, and working with Vanessa in her flower shop. Lawful good, I think. Okay, so fun fact. I don't often know the exact final outcome of a character's alignment until late into the editing process, when we actually start moving the character on the wheel. So the final alignment is a mystery even to me as the video is being made. However, sometimes I don't even know the final alignment until the day of release if I'm at a convention, before the episode's done editing. Thank you, Anthony, again, for filling in as a fantastic editor.
Oh, don't mention it, dude. These cookies are great.
Barry, however, was all over the place. This movie is weird, and so is this character, but that's actually kind of perfect, if you imagine it in the right context. His actions in this film are like a flying insect wandering around on a board. You can imagine the aimless nature of the character just walking around confused and then flying away. I'm pretty sure Barry is a good character, but that's definitely more by actions of necessity. Even though he somehow acts lawful good as a lawyer, his overall attitude is fairly chaotic in nature until he figures out what he wants to do in life. But I mean, it still fits the character and it's in character. Also, I think I'm going to be starting a new section of the end of these videos called the Patreon Shoutout section. I want to start showing my appreciation to patrons more since this convention season is preventing me from spending a lot of time on Discord or on Twitter or in the Pokemon tabletop games where most of our patrons interact with us. So I think for this first Patreon shoutout, I would like to give a big thank you to our first major patron, Dekeezer. This guy was our first high dollar patron ever. First he selected the random Pokemon tier, and then he selected the insert OC. Both times he gave me complete creative freedom to make whatever sort of character I wanted, and I just had to name the character after him. Thanks to that, I created this Klefki and Kiza, one of our most important NPC to be in our campaign, and is actually the face of the tier on the Patreon. Dekeezer always believed in us, and I want to thank him for his support and his long-time patronage. If you could all give him the warmest of thanks in the comments, I would appreciate it. And with that, I'll see you next time.